Hello everyone, and welcome back to Nailing Your Thesis, our course on how to perform research. We are now nearing the end of our sessions on how to write a research paper. We discussed general aspects of it, like overall structure and good writing style, and then made our way through the different sections, parts and sections therein that make up, constitute a research paper. We will now look at the final part, short and sweet, of a research paper, the closing of the research paper. It has these sections. There needs to be typically a conclusions section in the paper, the acknowledgments, as well as the references, and sometimes also, not listed here, appendices. In the context of the overall paper, it's a small part. It's 1 to 2 pages at the end of the paper, 1 to 2 pages of a 10-page paper, so 10 to 20% at max. What you do in that concluding part of the paper is to seal the deal, if you will. In the mind of the reader, you reconfirm the work and the results you presented to make them stick. Sometimes, since the initial wording early on in the paper, before it comes to the actual contributions part, may also be rather general, you clarify again the extent of claims. The thing to understand is that the conclusions section serves to reiterate the contributions, not just say new stuff, but reiterate the contributions of your research in a precise way, assuming now the reader has seen and believed you why your claims are true. There's also the specific peculiarity that there are a fair number of reviewers and readers who will first read the abstract and then jump to the conclusions section, assuming that the reiteration of what you achieve will give them a better insight as to whether they really should read the paper. And sometimes they don't read anything beyond it, but now believe you anyway. So the conclusion section first lists the contributions, then discusses or reiterates the significance of your findings and what that implies, perhaps in general, of a future work. That future work is usually optional. It's steps that you might take after this work in order to complete it, because maybe there were some limitations that you expect to overcome in the future. But sometimes there are also simply alternative perspectives. Those should either go into related work, perhaps they might be hinted at in the conclusion section with 1 or 2 sentences, but not too much. Future work is basically an outlook on future work and something you might be undertaking in the future. The German Ausblick, it means outlook, it's not the same as conclusions. So here's an example from the sustainability research paper. In this paper, we have shown that open source is sustainable, so you reiterate the contributions. Now managers can reliably, so the significance, but also how you did it, I list here. Okay, now that you've really driven home your points and people should take away what they will take away, what they should take away, you can move on. There's an acknowledgments section. It may be missing. You list people here and you thank people, acknowledge people here who have made contributions to your work that were not intellectual. So not intellectual means they didn't get on the author list. So it could be sponsors. It could be people who provided materials to you or somehow helped you in a non-intellectual way. Sometimes it's sources of ideas. Usually, as I said, it's the sponsor, whether it's a public agency or a private company, etc. After that acknowledgement, there is the references section, which is the place where all your literature references go to, those that you cite from the main body of the paper. You really only should put there in a research paper papers that are cited or referenced in the main body of your paper. The references section is not a general biography which may contain more and other work just for general interest purposes, and those may go in the bibliography section of a book, which may not necessarily have to reference each and every article in its bibliography. But for a research paper with constrained space, you really only want to list what you need in order to make the paper complete. The references section, I believe we've covered this before, is typically maybe ordered in different ways. Might be alphabetically ordered by first author's last name of a reference of a research paper being referenced, or it might be ordered by occurrence, by numbering, by occurrence in the paper. So if it's mentioned first, then it will be in pole position for the references section, etc. How you cite, that is determined by the publication outlet that you submit to. They will give you a particular style, similar to how they tell you how the layout of your paper should be. And here again, you see some examples of that referencing style. The first one here, number 7, is apparently a numerical ordering. So that paper this reference was taken from apparently uses a numerical ordering, meaning order of appearance in the research paper, and hence also the reference to that particular paper is by number. This is getting somewhat unusual. More common these days is to reference by naming the authors and the date. So you see this at the bottom, how you index into the references. You do it by number or by some shorthand like Johnson et al. 1993. And then if you do that, you have a matching way of how the reference is written down as part of the references section. Here, Johnson, Ralph, Bank, Kent, etc., etc., using a particular style. The styles often have names. So, for example, the second style here, the second reference is written in a style that's the APA style, American Psychological Association style, I believe, for which you can find a lot of information on the web. The publication outlets will typically only say, provide a reference list following APA or AMA or whatever other style there is. Here's some final point on, do you need a lot of references or not? Depends on the discipline. As so often, as so many things, it's customary, it's a custom behavior of any particular discipline. It's not good style, but that's just how it is. Reviewers do derive some impression of your paper based on how well you apparently understand the customs of that discipline. And here it's poking fun at, say, how many references are needed. Apparently it's linear based on the length of the paper. That makes sense, but some disciplines have longer papers like humanities and the social sciences, and others like medicine have shorter ones. That's it from me here now. So the conclusion section has a particular structure and layout like all the others, and the closing of the paper has a conclusion section, acknowledgments, and references. One thing I didn't mention here, but which may be getting more common, so watch out for that, is to have yet another session or section on who provided what contribution to the paper. Remember how we discussed the author list? It's a very imperfect way of providing academic credit to authors. The alphabetical ordering gets in between, and it's only an author list, so it really is not a percentage allocation of work or anything. So we do see, or I've been seeing papers where there are final sections at the end, which actually spell out the contribution of any particular author. And that helps allocate academic currency appropriately. It also avoids that people are on the author list where you can't really say anything what they actually did without you lying about it. Nevertheless, it's actually pretty tricky to precisely nail down who made what contribution, so I don't know whether we will see this more in the future or not. In any case, that's it from me for how to write a research paper, and in the next sessions, if we have any left in terms of time, we will look at the scientific community, publishing inside the scientific community, and having a career. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you then. Bye.